So we are back again and we are going to discuss the remaining point. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Very
afternoon,
good,
sir.
very good afternoon. So late in the evening, uh, let's start. Not waste time. Try to cover up as much as points possible, and hopefully from next week we are going to have one session. Well, I asked the PLs about how many classes we are going to have today, and it was informed that we are going to have two sessions. Reason being, 2nd October holiday. So that session needs to be compensated since we are left with not much of the time. So that's why two sessions again today, and we'll try to make maximum benefit out of what's been granted to us. So let's start. So we were discussing about principles of ethics under Code of Ethics. This is our chapter, and this was the first topic that we started uh, last session. And we had covered one point under this. These were the general definitions of that. Five factors, those are being given here, out of which we were discussing truthfulness and confidentiality. We completed it. Last thing that we discussed in that was the types of secret, and three types of secret, which I told you: natural secret, promise secret, and professional secret. So those were three secrets I told you. So let's see. This was the point we discussed. So last, there are three types of secret: natural secret, promise secret, and professional secret. And we called off our class at this point. So we'll move further and see the next point, which is autonomy. So, this particular factor, autonomy, is another ethical principle that you may already be aware of. Uh, but intricacies of it, the way it is, may not be known. So the term refers to every individual's right of self-determination, independence, and freedom to make their own choices. So in the context of corporate, if you see the corporate world, we are pursuing business management program. The concept of autonomy is most concerned with the ethical obligation of an organization or a stakeholder to respect the client's right to make decisions about their own well-being. And that's when it's prohibited that we should be forcing on ourselves on the clients, on the customers. It is that we are offering, but ultimately this decision of picking up a particular choice, picking up a particular product lies with the client. We should not be forcing it. It's a right. Autonomy is a right given to every individual, and it becomes more prominent when it comes to buying and selling of the products, or offering some services, or having contract with the with other stakeholders such as suppliers and other people, where supplier wants to supply or not, that is a decision of a supplier. So we have to respect that decision, and that comes under autonomy, that he is having that intellect to decide upon whether this particular contract be withheld or not. We have also seen there is a contradiction. I recall one of the theories where it has been said that it should not be practiced always. So there are conditions in which the personal choice or autonomy may be restricted because of concern for the well-being of the community. So, there may be people who are doing something wrong. A person who is trying to say is performing thefts. A person who is killing somebody just because he want to kill somebody. So shall we give that person that kind of autonomy where he is deciding upon that killing is right and he is doing appropriate? appropriately right action is taking. So in that case, this autonomy is restricted, and that's why people are imprisoned many a times, so that their suspected behavior is not a danger to the society, civilized society that we are into. So as the point says, the term autonomy is commonly referred as respect for persons. And respect for persons incorporate two ethical convictions. First is that individuals should be treated as autonomous agents, that they are able to make certain choices by themselves. This we should understand, and we should treat them as such, that they are confident enough and they are competent enough of taking a decision. And if they are not competent enough, then they are showing the diminished autonomy. And that's what the other point is, that persons with diminished autonomy are entitled to protection. Then we need to protect them. We need to give them the time as per their competency to take a decision. We should try to help them out in taking a decision and so on. So if you see these principles, the principle of respect for persons thus divides into two separate moral requirements. The requirement to acknowledge autonomy, which is in reference to point one, and the requirement to protect those with diminished autonomy, that is in line with point two. So to respect autonomy is to give weight to persons' considered opinions and choices while refraining from obstructing their actions unless they are clearly detrimental to others. As we have talked about detrimental to society, somebody killing. So till the time they are having opinions, they are having choices, whatever choices they are making, you should be respecting those choices. You should not be enforcing yourself on choices which they are making till the time, as again I repeat, detrimental for the society. So this is point two. Moving on, point three. Point three is about informed consent. And it is the process in which a service provider educates a client about the risks, benefits, and alternatives of a given procedure or intervention. So the client is assumed to be competent to make a voluntarily decision about whether to seek a service or not. So in second point, we have seen that we should not be forcing ourselves. If we are not forcing ourselves, in addition to that, we should also be transparent while we are offering some services. So, whenever you are offering some services to the client, offering some product to the client, you should inform the client about benefits and risks which are associated to the use of that particular product or service. You should also, if it's like the client has come to you and he is asking for a product and service, then you should also inform about the alternatives to what he is seeking, and alternatives along with the alternatives to a particular service or a product. You should also tell the client about risks and benefits associated with the alternate also when the client is coming to you. Informed consent has been used, say, for quite a long time, especially in the current economic scenario, especially with IT systems. How? When you download a particular app on your mobile phone, it says this is going to have access to your address book, to your network, to your calendar, XYZ, MNOP, ABCD, PQRS. So they inform you that your data is going to be accessed from these particular locations. It also say access to your gallery. So if you give your consent that I'm okay with this particular app accessing my data from these particular locations, that's fine. They have already informed you about that this particular application is going to do these particular actions. So you give the consent. If you're not giving the consent, till the time you are not giving the consent, it will not get installed. It may also be that you may give partial consent, that this particular app may use my camera, use my gallery, but should not be using my social media account or should not be using the address book and so on. But we are talking about informed consent, and that's why when it comes to technology, there is no person who is directly um making you aware. It's about when you got educated about that particular app available or floating in the market, you are downloading it. Once you are downloading it, the company is informing you with the risk and benefit of that particular app. You never read, I never read, or anybody else never read the terms and conditions. If you read it, you will be surprised to know the details which have been given here, that what could be the risk if you perform actions in certain way. So they have informed you, and once you give the consent, then only you will be able to install the application. So informed consent is always there. So this is the best example that could be quoted at particular time, because you all are experienced in this. You all have undergone this particular, say, kind of a scenario where you are downloading an app, or you're downloading the software, or you are doing anything, or you are opening even the account over social media or any other platform. They gives you the terms and conditions which are very, very lengthy. You do not have time. That's a different thing. You just simply accept that. But why those terms and conditions are there? It actually falls in the regulations of informed consentism, where user is being informed, and after the user is being informed, it is assumed that user have gone through the terms and condition, and that's why even if you see by default it is not checked. By default the hot button is not okay, it is cancel. So you are moving your mouse from cancel to okay and clicking there. That means you have intentionally accepted it. You cannot even claim in the court of law that that has been done by mistake. It's not possible. You press enter, it will get cancelled. Try doing it. But this is part of informed consentism. So coming to the slide, informed consent is both an ethical and legal obligation of the organization. Uh, it is implicit in providing informed consent. Uh, this is about assessment by the client based on the documentation of the matter, as I was saying, that there are terms and conditions. So informed consentism, again I say it's very implicit documented thing, and which informs the client uh, about the risks and the advantages about the service and the product that is being offered. The legal system requires documentation of all the elements of informed consent. That could be in a form, in a progress notes, in instruction manuals, or in last point, which I was telling you, terms and conditions. So these four things are always there: progress notes, instruction manuals, terms and conditions, in form, in layout of a form where you have given the signatures or you have submitted it from uh, your IP address. So the following are the required elements for documentation of informed consent, which are given in the last statement. And what these are, if you read that statement, the nature of the procedure, the risks and benefit and the procedure, reasonable alternatives. I've already told you about this, the risk and benefit of alternatives. And in addition to that, it is also the responsibility it is also the responsibility of the service provider to assess the client's understanding of all these four elements. So, when anything is being offered, what is the nature of what is being offered, the risk and benefit of what is being offered, what are the alternatives to what is being offered, and what are the risk and benefit of the alternatives of what is being offered. This needs to be declared by the service provider. And it's a responsibility. Again, I'm saying it's a responsibility of the organization to assess the client's understanding of these four. So it is the obligation of a service provider to make it clear to the client and avoid making the client feel forced to agree to a certain condition with the provider. So this falls under informed consentism. Moving further, the other point is beneficence and non-maleficence. So the term beneficence is often understood to cover acts of kindness or charity that go beyond strict obligations. Beneficence is defined as an act of charity, mercy, and kindness with a strong connotation of doing good to others, including moral obligation. So, how we can do good to other, how we can benefit other. If that's an approach, we are in beneficence. And what we are doing, it should not be harming somebody else. That's non-maleficence. Though it is being seen differently, but the outcome is same. That means not damaging the institution, not damaging the uh, the client. So how we are going to offer something good? That's beneficence. And whatever we are offering, is that making people happy or unhappy? If the motive is it should not make people unhappy, then it is non-maleficence. But both go side by side, you know. So as you come to the point, in the context of the professional client relationship, the professional is obligated to always and without expectation favor the well-being and interest of the client. To extend where the stakeholders are treated in an ethical manner, not only by respecting their decisions and protecting them from harm, but also by making efforts to securing their well-being. So what you are doing, is it giving benefits or is it harming somebody? From that perspective, decision needs to be taken. So you will be practicing beneficence and non-beneficence. The term beneficence tells you about doing good for your client, while the concept of non-maleficence uh, tells you you too do no harm either intentionally or unintentionally to your clients. I've already spoken about it and I hope you have understood it. Two general rules have been formulated as complementary expressions of beneficent actions in this sense, and that is do not harm and maximize possible benefits and minimize possible harms. So all stakeholders, to sum up, all stakeholders must be protected from harm and their well-being must be secured. This principle actually leads to the requirement that the benefits to subjects, which are your clients, or to humanity generally must be judged to outweigh the risks to the associates. So we should not be harming somebody and we should be benefiting everybody. From that perspective, we should be working. And this comes under beneficence and non-maleficence. So that's what your topic is all about. Moving ahead, justice, very, very important. Uh, it's a complex ethical principle and it entails fairness, equality, and impartiality. Again, I say fairness, equality, and impartiality. So what I've just said, in other words, if you see, it is an obligation to be fair to all people. The risks and benefit of a service must be distributed fairly without creating demographical differences among the stakeholders based on defined classes. People may be coming from discrete backgrounds, but those needs to be treated equally. So fairness, equality, and impartiality. You should not be favoring a particular community. You should not be favoring uh, or you should not be partial to a particular community and so on, the group of society and so on. You should not be doing that. And if you elaborate on it, the point also elaborates, though it is simply mentioned, the justice is pursued from two perspectives. Distributive justice, or that means that individuals have a right to be accepted equally regardless of ethnic group, gender, culture, age, marital status, what more to call, medical diagnosis, that means the health status of it, uh, social standing, where they are in the society, economic level, how much they earn, political or religious belief, what party they are supporting, what not, which particular religion they are part of, and you can continue. You can continue with such kind of attributes. There may be n number of attributes of such kind, but on any of these attributes, people should not be discriminated. So everyone should be treated in the same way. That's what the point says, distributed justice. Everyone coming from different backgrounds, having different attributes, should be treated in the same way. That's what is a focus of justice. And second is social justice, which is based on the application of equitable rights to access and participation in all aspects of goods and services provided in a society, regardless of their individual characteristics. Everyone should have access to the identical resources, whatever resources are there. Everyone has a right to access that particular resource. So if government is coming up with some infrastructure plan, everybody has a right to use that. Who will go to the temples, who will not? Who will enter other religious places or not? Who is allowed to enter clubs and not? These are social rights that everybody is having, and it falls under social justice. Itching in my eye. So everyone should have access to the identical resources that might improve their standards. So as a corporate, coming to the our course curriculum, one should carry out distributive and social justice by enabling the inclusion and empowerment of all stakeholders who are affiliate of the organization, and they should be allowed to exercise their rights. An unfair treatment to the affiliates while practicing the profession will impact gaining the public trust, which will negatively affect the brand value of the organization. Remember that. So, justice in amalgamation with other rights, we have gone through these five, all are necessary for building a brand. So this ends our first topic, and we may continue with the second, which actually is code of ethics. And code of ethics has already been studied by us, but then it has differently been placed in this module. So we'll take it again. And here we have to cover up compliance and value-based code of ethics. So what is being guided by moral values and what is being guided by the rules and regulations. Rule and regulation is compliance based, and what is guided by moral value is value based. So again, from different perspective, we are going to see the code of ethics and see its intricacies, which actually is our second topic of this module. So compliance and value-based code of ethics, this is what we are going to talk about, and let's see what this has in offering. As the question says, if you see the left corner, left top corner, what is the code of ethics? And these two statements makes it very clear what actually we mean by code of ethics, which are self-explanatory. You can very well go through it and see. You will not find any difficulty in understanding this. Since we have talked about codes and ethics again, but we are going to see two more things, compliance and value-based code of ethics, and that's why this understanding of code of ethics is repeated here. So a code of ethics is a guide of principles designated to help professionals conduct businesses honestly and with integrity. A code of ethics document may outline the mission and values of the business or organization, which actually I'll not restrict only to the mission, but it's about mentioning your strategic statements. So mission, vision, objectives, goals, everything has been mentioned there. So code of ethics document may outline the mission and values of the business or organization, how professionals are supposed to approach problems, the ethical principles based on the organization's core values, and the standards to which the professional and the profession say your profession is held. So all falls in code of ethics. It's actually a guideline. It's actually a guideline through which you are going to perform your operations. You cannot divert from it. So it says that moving forward, it says a code of ethics sets out an organization's ethical guidelines and best practices to follow for honesty, integrity, and professionalism. Point two, if you see, for members of an organization, violating the code of ethics can result in sanctions, including termination. Well, it depends upon what kind of policy you have for various defaults that you conduct within the organization. So as there are different legal proceedings for different kind of crimes, similarly different kind of violations inside an organization also have different kinds of treatments. So that's what this point says. Violating the code of ethics can result in sanctions, including termination. If you see in some industries, the next point, like if you say banking, finance, and legal, mm, medical, specific laws govern specific business conduct. So, how a doctor should be behaving, that is prescribed from some regulatory authority. How the advocates and solicitors should be taking up the cases. How they should be responsible with their actions. Everything has been defined, predefined. The architecture laws are being defined. So there are certain professions, certain industries where specific laws govern business conducts. And if there are no laws being prescribed directly, if there is no regulatory body, a code of ethics may be voluntarily adopted by a company and they may let down their own regulation, abiding by the regulation of the constitution. So if you are in India, anything which is prescribed in constitution and through constitution to IPC and through constitution to other legal guidelines, everything is by default applicable to you. So one has to be very, very precise in their working. The other point says the main types of codes of ethics include a compliance-based code of ethics and a value-based code of ethics, and also the code of ethics among professionals, what it should be. In addition to that, just to add on one more point is that you know uh, there are certain regulations from time to time which have been given by certain statutory bodies and government like Government of India or even some partnering countries. Like recently there was yesterday only, I think so. G4 day before yesterday, G4 meeting was scheduled, and it was appreciated how India is working towards reducing the carbon emissions and controlling the climate. So, there are certain regulations which are being laid down by G4 nations also about uh, conduct of organizations for saving the environment. And that has to be integral part of as a practice uh, of all the corporates that are operating in periphery of uh, country of India. So these codes keep on changing. Code of ethics, um, they are being amended not only in terms of what your conduct should be in terms of dealing with the stakeholders, but how you should be benefiting the society also and the human race on the whole. In addition to that, Mother Earth, how you're going to treat that. So Going forward, if you see the types of code of ethics, that's what is a point here. And I've tried putting in only very small paragraph here to make you understand, because my assumption is that by now you know what is code of ethics. So a code of ethics can take a variety of forms, but the general goal is to ensure that the business and its employees are following state laws, conducting themselves with an ideal that can be exemplary, and ensuring that the business being conducted is beneficial for all stakeholders. We have already talked about justice, so it should bring in some kind of value addition to the people who are trying to access your service or the product. So code of ethics is going to develop the value not only of the organization but of all the stakeholders, and it is also going to add on the value to the environment in which you are operating. So that's what is code of ethics. And if we go further to the types, three types of code of ethics are being defined. And first one is compliance based code of ethics. Second is value based code of ethics. And third is an integrity based code of ethics, which is actually, you may call it a hybrid, which is combination of us two. So if we proceed further, what is a compliance based code of ethics? You know, well, if you see ethics, there are only two ways, whether you're part of organization or you're not part of the organization, but living as a human, where we have inherited ethical values, it is that we should be uh, guided by the law. Do we have a fear of law? That is why we are not defaulting, or we are good enough. That is why we are not defaulting. And that's what is the difference between compliance based and uh, the value based code of ethics. So I may not be defaulting because, leave law aside. I have my own values. And since I have my own values, I'll not jump the zebra crossing and the traffic light. Wherein I could be the other person, I am not jumping the traffic light because I know there is a huge challan. So I am afraid of the punishment. These are two different methods in which I could be ethical. So first is if I am forced to follow ethics because there are guidelines being defined and there are punishments for defaults, those are being defined, then it is compliance based code of ethics. Wherein value based code of ethics, it talks about the moral conduct. It talks about self behavior. So am I good enough? Question is that to make sure that I abide by the mm, human conduct, to make sure that it benefits everybody around me. So that's going to be value based code of ethics. The third, which here is an integrity based code of ethics. I'll take these in details, one slide each for it, for every, for all these three. Uh, but just to give you brief so that you understand when we proceed with the slides, an integrity based code of ethics where I am like, there is a rule, it's okay. Like in Constitution of India, there's already an IPC. So I know there are certain crimes which are not to be committed. I'm not committing those crimes, even though rules are there, but I'm not afraid of those rules because I do not focus on those rules. I focus on my integrity, my values. So this is integration of both the systems. First is there are regulations and there is a moral conduct also. So though there are regulations, I am not bothered about it because as per me, I'm not doing the default. What I am bothered about is about my own persona and about my own actions, the motive of which is to benefit the larger uh, societal constitute, and it makes sure that everybody out of the action which I'm performing, everybody is benefited out of it. So these are three. Let's take the slides in details, and I hope this particular explanation has made you understand what these three code of ethics are. So first, code of ethics, compliance based. It says a compliance based code of ethics is developed to ensure that the business and its employees comply with all laws and regulations in an appropriate manner. Three key elements include the prevention, detection, and punishment of non-compliant behavior. So first is you make sure to lay down the regulations so that the defaults are not being committed. If those are being committed, then there are already been guideline which will prescribe the strength of a default, and based on the intensity of default, the punishments are being recommended. So three key elements include the prevention, detection, and the punishment of non-compliant behavior. Compliance-based ethical codes do have their critics also. And as this point says, compliance-based ethics do not foster independent thought and autonomy. I am not required to put in my effort. It is that what has been prescribed by the organization. If I am in Constitution of India, within the periphery of uh, country, India country, then I am following that regulation. I go into the organization, I'm following the regulation, which are in line with the constitutional layouts. And I'm not applying my thought. There have been punishments, etc., being defined. It may be because of the risk factor also, that if I break a regulation, trying new things, then I will be punished and so on. So this particular thought in compliance with ethics do not foster independent thought and autonomy. I am not free to think that what I should be doing to benefit the society. It has already been prescribed. I have to do it. And that's why it has also been said that such a particular setup don't empower employees to be ethical actors, but it rather uses strict rules of fear and punishment to enforce the code of conduct. So people are bothered about the punishments and they are fearing the punishments, and that's why they are performing the duties which are prescribed in the regulation. They are not diversifying out of those duties. And this is in line with the point that is mentioned on the slide. Compliance-based ethics does not necessarily encourage a general idea of ethical behavior. As we take up the other point, in some industries, if you think, uh, that's point 4. Uh, I've talked about this point as we started this topic. So in law, in medical industry, how doctors should be behaving and so on. So that's what it is saying. In some industries, including banking and finance, a specific law govern business conduct. These industries formulate compliance-based codes of ethics to enforce laws and regulation. So there are charges being defined if you default on finances. Employees in such industries usually undergo formal training to learn the rules of conduct, because non-compliance can create legal issues for the company as a whole. Individual workers within a firm may face penalties for failing to follow the guidelines. And this training, as I was talking about, is really very, very important. Why it is important? Because the actions of people will risk the brand of a company. It is also very important to make people believe that what is right and what is wrong, and to what extent they are free to give their opinions, to diversify what is being specified and so on. These are very, very rigid kind of systems where you cannot diversify as per your understanding. The understanding is given in written in form of protocols, rules and regulations to you, and you have to follow it. So if you see the last point, what I've just said, it affirms that this type of code of ethics is based on clear-cut rules and well-defined consequences rather than individual monitoring of personal behavior. So I am not monitoring myself. I am doing that job which is defined, well defined to me as per the regulations, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do. So as I was talking about the critics also, again, if I touch that point to close on, so Even though such a setup talks about or promotes strict adherence to the law, some compliances, if you see, uh, the conduct do not promote a climate of moral responsibility within a company. So it's like what I should do to benefit the society. That is, I'm not free to do that. And hence, I'm not keeping a check on my ethical behavior. It's about my ethical behavior is checked as per the codes, those are being prescribed. So this is the point here. Moving to value-based code of ethics. Well, this is one more thing. I've already given you my view on that, but let's take it here. There is one slide for it. Very little content is there. A value-based code of ethics addresses a company's core value system. It may outline standards of responsible conduct as they relate to a larger public good and the environment. Value-based ethical codes may require a greater degree of self-regulation than compliance-based codes. I've already told you this difference. Self-regulation, when I'm doing something as an organization also, when I'm doing something, what I should be doing, I am monitoring myself beyond set of rules, those are being laid down. So I'm monitoring myself, what is ethical and what is unethical. When I am the organization, when I'm a person, I'm monitoring myself as a person that what I'm doing is good or bad. So if it is acceptable, I am going to do it. If it is not acceptable, I am not going to diversify into it. So taking up the point, some codes of conduct contain language that addresses both compliance and values. And I gave this example in the other section also, section of PFE General, BB General, section A and B. I talked about a grocery chain, So grocery chain, there's no regulation on what they are selling. So what kind of fruits those people are selling to their clients, how those fruits are being purchased, what is the quality of those fruits, how those fruits are being ripened, Some may use carbates and injections to ripen the fruits in a 3 hours time, and few are getting it naturally ripened. As a customer, I may not be able to know, but that's the accepted standard by that company, that retail store, that it is only selling me the fruits, those are naturally been ripened. So the nutritional great ingredients of that uh, fruit are good compared to which is ripened using chemicals. Is there any regulation? Is there any law there? No. It's only about the self-conduct. It's also about, like the same example could be taken in livestock, where actually the problem happens. So what is the quality of meat that has been given to the customer, how it has been processed? Many a times to keep it fresh, hormones are fed into it so that it looks fresh. But then actually it is going to damage uh, the 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 health of a person. And this is happening against some financial gain. So who is keeping check over it? Organizations themselves are keeping check over it. As a customer in the initial time may not be able to know. So that's what we say, value-based code of ethics. So this was the second thing, and moving to the third. Well, I've already said it's kind of hybrid of both, where there are laid down regulations, but I'm not bothered about those regulations. And it's like I am into second, say, compliance, which is about value-based ethical code, and that's it. So if you go through it, it says an integrity-based code of ethics. It still contains rules prohibiting illegal behavior, but focuses on proper actions or effects that should be achieved rather than behavior to be avoided. So it's not like what I should not be doing so that I get punished. It's about rules are there. What I should not be doing are prescribed there, but still I should be ethical enough in doing something green and try to diversify and make sure that whatever I do is of benefit to the end user. So in if you have seen integrity based ethical system, officials will set values to which his business and employees aspire, such as treating customers right and conducting a green business and so on. The focus is on what a company can achieve rather than the manner in which it is achieved. So it's more of result oriented. So the company attempts to encourage good ethical behavior rather than focusing on monitoring and punishing errors for bad actions. So if somebody is diversifying, employee may be rewarded for finding ways to advance the aspirational goals, such as finding a more green solution in manufacturing. And in totality, if you see, last line from my side for this particular point, uh, this type of ethical code requires a certain level of trust and employee autonomy. But few companies are very cautious about this, implementing this, because many a times it backfires. More people diversifying at the same time, so there has to be some check. There has to be some check. So these are three, say, code of ethics. When you are being asked types of code of ethics, you may very well say compliance based ethical codes and value based ethical codes and integrity based ethical codes. And that's why ethical codes was again introduced in this particular module to debate on ethical code from these three perspectives. And I hope it is well understood. To repeat again, if there are regulations being laid down and there are punishments prescribed for each default, that's going to be in uh, compliance based code of conduct, wherein if self-monitoring is there, so that what you are doing is good or bad, it is not damaging the society. If you are monitoring it yourself as an organization also, then it will fall in value-based code of ethics. That's the major difference between both. And these were the two topics that we wanted to discuss. It's topic 2 of your syllabus of this module, and we have tried covering it. We'll post this under professional ethics. We have one more point, and we'll try to cover it up. And once these points have been covered, then we'll move to professional obligation, which is going to be our topic 3. So I'll give you a glimpse of that, what we are going to discuss. It is the components of code of ethics. You may be asked, what are the components of code of ethics? And there are certain components being described here: respect for others, integrity and honesty, conflict of interest, justice, lawfulness, competence and accountability, and teamwork. These are certain code of the components of code of ethics which everybody has to abide by. And very wonderfully, these are being prescribed in the ethical theories and are part of various corporations also. And when you see the quality corporations, whatever you are studying is actually implemented there. And if you see the last module, that's more of the HR practices that companies having. And there are certain regulations also which companies follow. Here, companies make sure that code of ethics has been applied, and it brings in mm, the addition of value to all these stakeholders of the organization, whether those are customers or suppliers or anybody else. Like even I was talking in the previous session, I was talking about clients of clients. So even those are very much important to you because you may be dependent upon particular product. As in case of, I can give you the case of car manufacturing. So, you may be requiring, if you have a current car company manufacturing the cars, you may be requiring some kind of raw material and not raw material, some kind of components. But those components are made by somebody else, and raw material for those components is supplied by somebody else. That's why we were in last session, we're talking about ethical conduct and mixing up with people, mixing up with the stakeholders in unofficial times, uh, extending the relations, etc. There I talked about clients of clients. So, when you entertain, when you have gatherings, social gatherings, when you are socializing, you also called clients of the clients because if their raw material is going to get uh, lower is lower standard, then obviously the quality of component that you fix in your cars is going to get down, and ultimately it's the brand. They are not known by the brand. Their parts are moving inside the car, but your brand is going to get impacted, and that's why you have to treat even those people with quite uh, seriousness. Make sure that those people are also part of say comfort zone, and you talk to them, you make them comfortable, you know that what troubles they are into and so on. You try to help them out, etc., etc., just to make sure that they are being part of the cluster, and cluster in totality which is producing a finished product. The largest product is coming from your side, that's the car, but that cluster is having number of companies into it. So this car company may not be making anything by itself except for the car. It is assembling the parts. Parts are coming from various suppliers. Those parts are having ingredients. Those are being supplied by their suppliers. So this complete value chain should be treated good. There has to be ethics at every level of this supply chain, and then only you are going to furnish or send the furnished quality furnished product in the market. You are the brand. You hardly know, except for tires and few other things and the windshield on which the name is mentioned. You hardly know what kind of paint, which company's paint car is using or car is being painted with. You hardly know what which company's AC is there. You hardly know the gear systems, the Geraris of it, who makes that, who makes the clutch, the pressure plate and clutch plate. You hardly know. But what you know is the brand of the car that you bought. So if the clutch is not going to work fine, obviously you will curse the company at what kind of clutch system they have. It's failing to engage the gears smoothly. So that's what I mean when it comes to ethics. Everybody in the value chain needs to develop that relation and make sure that everybody is treated right. That's what is the first point. Respect for others, including clients. So I've disconnected my slides and hopefully you got few things. Oh, there is a hand raised. Uh, yes,
Excuse
Ritvik,
me, sir.
if I could be of some help.
Yes, sir. Sir, sorry, due to some network errors, my class was getting logged in and logged out again and again. So please forgive me and please mark me present if there is a
That's
problem.
that's okay. You're for whatever time you have logged out, that comes in the CSV file. Not a problem. You have logged in back, so that's okay.
All
Network
right, sir.
problems are always there. We understand.
Thank you, sir.
Don't worry. Okay, then I'll take your leave. We'll meet again with the same subject, not next Saturday. Next Saturday is 2nd of October, which is countrywide off because of Gandhi Jayanti. So we'll meet again on 9th of October. By that time, live life to fullest. Have nice time. I'll take your leave.
Thank you, sir. Same here.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, dear. Enjoy your weekend. Live good. Take good care of your health. Bye bye.